President Donald Trump is at the G7 summit in Canada, meeting with that country's leaders, where trade is sure to be a top topic. Vaughn Hilliard has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump is meeting right now with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Alberta. This video is actually from moments ago. Let's listen in.
All right, thank you. Mr. President, welcome to Canada, and your personal leadership of the United States. Many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. I'm very much looking forward to the meeting. I'm grateful to have you here.
How close are you? What is holding up a deal with Canada from your perspective?
It's not so much holding up. I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept. Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person.
A global summit in the mountains, locked down, sealed off, and already unraveling. Before Air Force One even touched down, Prime Minister Mark Carney scrapped the G7 communique, refused the handshake photo op, and sent a bold message to the world. This isn't diplomacy. It's a warning. Trump arrived demanding 5% military budgets, fresh tariffs, and even floated the idea of annexing Canada. Macron? He detoured to Greenland, directly throwing a diplomatic slap in Trump's face. Japan filed a formal complaint with the WTO, while Mexico showed up armed with legal shields. Behind closed doors, the United States is being blamed for destabilizing the entire global economy. This wasn't supposed to be just another G7 summit. It looked more like the final act. Prime Minister Carney stunned the world by killing the closing communique before the talks even began, something that hasn't happened since 1975. According to Reuters, this decision blindsided both the White House and European leaders, stripping the summit of the usual symbol of policy unity. Why did Carney do it? His aides revealed it was a deliberate message. Canada would not legitimize U.S. trade coercion after Trump's recent 10% universal tariff announcement, which now affects over $1.1 trillion in imports from U.S. allies. Typically, the communique would outline coordinated steps on trade, security, and climate. Instead, Carney replaced it with a sterile chair summary, a diplomatic void. Macron's team called it unprecedented. A German delegate described it as tactical silence. With no official agreement, Trump left Canada empty-handed. He had nothing to wave as validation. But the bigger question is this: did Carney just redefine resistance in G7 diplomacy? This move comes on the heels of Trump's March 2025 comments in Ohio, where he boldly stated that Canada should have been part of the United States from the start, a remark that sparked outrage in Ottawa. Former Canadian defense chiefs quickly condemned the rhetoric, but there's more behind this. Last year, the United States ran a $38.6 billion goods trade deficit with Canada, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. In response, Trump slapped tariffs on Canadian dairy at 22%, aluminum at 10%, and lumber at 14%. Bloomberg reports that these duties have already cost Canada's manufacturing sector $4.2 billion in the first quarter of 2025 alone. Behind the scenes, Carney's team has been negotiating in Washington to preserve access for high-value exports like critical minerals and clean tech, both of which now face regulatory hurdles under new U.S. economic sovereignty clauses. Macron's strategic move in Greenland. Macron's unannounced visit to Greenland just hours before landing in Alberta wasn't a coincidence. It was a direct diplomatic rebuke of Trump's repeated proposals to buy the autonomous Danish territory, including a new suggestion he made in a May 2025 Fox News interview. Macron told reporters, flanked by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, that Greenland is not a bargaining chip.
Everybody thinks in France, in the European Union, that Greenland is not to be sold, not to be taken.
Navigating a geopolitical minefield. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz faced intense pressure as Berlin had incurred a €17.5 billion export shortfall to the U.S. following Trump's tariffs on autos. Japan's Shigeru Ishiba too was under scrutiny, with Tokyo's $74.1 billion trade surplus triggering new threats from the U.S. Commerce Department to revisit steel investigations. The UK's Keir Starmer, fresh off a narrow parliamentary win, managed to secure a digital trade exemption from Trump only for 12 months, and it excluded financial services. Meanwhile, Mexico's Claudia Sheinbaum found herself navigating uncertainty over border policies after the Department of Homeland Security signaled potential cross-border tariff hikes if Mexico didn't adopt a U.S.-style asylum framework. Carney's bold move at the G7. Carney's refusal to issue a joint G7 statement effectively robbed Trump of the victory narrative he typically thrives on. Washington took notice. The World Bank's June 2025 Global Economic Prospects Report downgraded global GDP by 0.7%, citing rising uncertainty caused by U.S. tariff volatility and retaliatory measures. Canada alone has already lost $4.2 billion in retaliatory trade losses, particularly in softwood, beef, and battery-grade nickel, according to Statistics Canada. By releasing only a chair's summary, Carney effectively muted Trump's symbolic capital. No press conferences, no signature agreements, no posturing. In a summit where every sentence is parsed for leverage, Carney controlled the narrative. He controlled the room's lighting, framing, and the final shot. The U.S. is the global volatility driver. While the G7 summit was meant to foster collaboration, the United States has become the volatility driver. Since Trump's second term began, the U.S. has imposed tariffs on $1.3 trillion in imports and revoked 6 bilateral exemptions within 90 days of renegotiation. According to the World Bank, global capital inflows dropped by 12.4% in the first quarter of 2025.
If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more updates and content. We've got plenty more coming your way.
The new G7. Crisis management, not consensus. The G7 is no longer about building consensus, it's become about crisis management. France, Germany, and Italy now operate under EU-wide tariff defense mechanisms, triggering automatic retaliation if U.S. duties escalate. Japan has requested emergency WTO mediation over aluminum tariffs, while Mexico has prepared legal memoranda anticipating new threats. India's attendance under scrutiny for political violence only adds to the tension. The end of multilateral consensus? What started in 1975 as an economic forum to coordinate global recovery has now shifted to a stage for geopolitical fragmentation. Trump's push for tariffs, annexation proposals, and the rejection of climate or security frameworks are unraveling the rules that once held the G7 together.
If you found this video insightful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more updates and content. We've got plenty more coming your way.